The bigger question is how businesses can keep pace with AI while ensuring that their investment delivers genuine value, particularly in markets where affordability and access to technology remain significant challenges. For more on this, we're joined by Craig Fidler, Vice President of Business Applications at Braintree, a South African technology company. Craig, a very good morning to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us. And, I was listening to an ad, I think a day or 2 days ago, and I was quite intrigued by it. It was, I think it's a convenience store, and they were advertising that many companies use AI, but nothing can account for the human experience. And I thought a very clever ad because they're just saying, we've got decades of dealing with people. We already know what you need, and they're obviously turning the narrative around when it comes to AI. So are companies able to fight back?
Good morning, and thank you for the invite. I think companies are able to fight back. However, I think the ad is incredibly clever because the human, at the end of the day, will always make the decision. All AI is going to do and will be doing for the next 15, 20 years is servicing the decision to the human to make it, for the human to make the decision quicker and with more information available to them so that you're increasing your productivity all the time.
With your strategy as a company, I'm just wondering, AI leapfrogs every several months or so, but as a business, you want to make multi-year strategies, particularly when it comes to technology decisions. So, how do you do that? Has AI's innovation sped up effectively, even when there is traditional ways that companies think in terms of technology investment?
I think that if you look at the early adopters of AI, what they've done is they've adopted into or bought into a specific AI piece of technology, whether it be Grok or Gemini or open source, whatever the case may be, they've bought into that one singular type of technology. What Microsoft has brought to the party is an aggregation of all those little bits and pieces of AI and brought it under the Copilot banner or Copilot Foundry to be exact, so that you're actually able to make use of multiple AIs to either be autonomous or semi-autonomous, or to do your ask and um, return information to you. So from a Braintree perspective and from a Microsoft perspective, buying into an ecosystem is way safer than buying into a single piece of AI technology.
And you say something quite intriguing. Don't marry the model. What do you mean by that?
So if you're using multiple AIs, for example, you go and buy a Claude subscription, you buy a Gemini subscription, you buy a ChatGPT subscription, every single time you you use that AI model, you are using tokens. You're paying for that usage. And if you're handing off, so if you've got a semi-autonomous or autonomous uh, AI that's running in the back end and it's handing from ChatGPT across to Gemini or from Gemini across to open source, whatever the case may be, what you're doing is you're actually incurring costs because you're paying for the privilege of handing that query off to another AI agent. Under the Copilot banner, it's seamless.
So, just in terms of AI dependent businesses, because there are even individuals, whether they are, self employed or they are inculcating AI into their businesses and they tend to rely on it a lot. But when does a business risk losing, particularly financially and strategically? As you've just explained, what are the mistakes that we shouldn't make? But sometimes people feel because it's faster, it's more convenient, etc.
Well, that's a bit of a loaded question. look, I think for AI centric businesses, I think them assisting with a strategy for their customer is the most important aspect here. Um, just adopting technology for technology's sake could head you into serious trouble. So I'm of the belief that companies who are succeeding in the AI space, whether it be from a consulting perspective or adoption perspective, are the companies that have a strategy in place to understand what it is they're expecting from the AI model, what it is that they're looking for from AI. As an example, people there's a major fear that AI is going to take away jobs. I don't believe it's going to take away jobs. What it's going to do is going to shape the job. So instead of being a repetitive, task-orientated employee, you're going to find the employee becoming a more knowledge-based employee, making decisions. So from an AI perspective, I think what we're seeing is, well, not I don't think, what we are seeing is we're seeing a change from a record type of based systems in the back end, whether it be your CE or your CRM, or whether it be your ERP system, or whether it be a pricing model, or whatever the case may be, to a more outcomes based system. So it's not more a system of record, but it's an outcomes based system. I hope that makes sense.
Well, I'm trying to keep up as much as I can with it because,
So
as you can imagine, most of us. But I absolutely understand what you're saying. And I think it's also just trying to navigate your way around it because, as you say, it shouldn't be about model dependency. But when you're looking at investment, you are obviously trying to build your competitive advantage, as you say. But when you say this is real investment, is the real investment in data, in interoperability, in governance, or the ability to move between models, more models? So,
I think it's across the piece. So there's an investment in your workforce because you're changing your workforce from, as I say, a doer to a decision maker. There's an investment in your governance. So you're ensuring that the governance of the company is maintained and that your AI remains within specific security bounds. I believe that we're starting to see, excuse me, a lot of work around understanding what the company's data set is, and AI actually assisting with that understanding of what the company's data set is. So I hope that answers your question.
that's fine because I'm also wondering also about the country or regional context. We spoke to a security company, I think it was about a month or two ago, and it was very interesting. I was very interested in it because it was about how to handle your money and moving money across countries and region. And they obviously are using AI. They're setting up their own AI
Yep.
to monitor those transactions to ensure their security. So for a South African or an African business, is there more room to manage your costs once you understand that you can buy or get the wrong technology?
I don't think that there's wrong tech. I don't think that you're going to get the wrong technology. I think what you're going to do is you're going to start your journey, and going back again and saying that if you have your strategy in place, the underpinning technology is adaptive and can change over time. Um, so it's small steps into the AI world. That's really, really important. Um, when it comes to the wasting money, I don't believe that there is a waste of money even if you do choose the wrong tech up front, because you can actually change it at any time that you see fit. I hope that answers your question.
So, what you're saying is that there will always be adaptation because there is new technology. So,
Yep.
there's no such thing as committing too early.
I, my personal belief, I don't believe that there's committing too early. I think committing without a strategy, and I always come back to the strategy. It sounds like I'm flogging a dead horse here, but if you commit without a strategy, that's where the error is. That's where the mistake is. If you commit with a strategy, because tech is moving so fast at this point in time, to make that change and switch between technologies, I don't think it's going to be a massive issue in going forward. Again, if we come back to the Microsoft platform, initially we had Copilot and that was it. So they had the proprietary AI done and dusted. What they've realized is that they're competing against such a fast and rapid changing environment that they've now incorporated ChatGPT, Claude, etc., into their offering, into the ecosystem. So if you've decided to go down the Claude route and later realize that it might not be the exact route you want to go down, to shift across to Microsoft, an ecosystem like Microsoft becomes quite simple and not onerous and difficult to do.
Thank you so much, Craig. I hope we have another conversation because I was wanted to ask you about Africa's growing workforce because the demographics tell us 70% are youth, so they're also going to need training, and how much of your investment also go towards their training. But looking forward to speaking to you again, Craig Fidler, Vice President of Business Applications at Braintree, discussing the changing economics of AI, the risks of vendor dependence, and how businesses can make more sustainable technology choices.
Where Africa's morning finds its voice.